mistake. Whoever comes out of this will be battle-hardened and ready to go at the World Cup.
Absolutely, yeah, no, it's a cutthroat competition. It's going to be pretty ruthless. But this weekend, as we were building to, we do have 3 games to look ahead to. Starting off in Romania, in Bucharest, at the Stadium Arco de Triomph in Bucharest. That's going to be, I think, 12:30 local, or 12:30 kickoff time UTC. That's 2:30 local time, so an afternoon game for the local fans. And Romania hosting Russia. It's one with intrigue. Like, Romania really are coming off, like, this fixture last year was the kind of check to their momentum that really did deflate them. It was a poor performance from them out in Romania, or out in Russia. They were ill-disciplined. Their line-out was an absolute shambles that day, and they were duly punished by Russia, who clinically took threes.
Undone by their defence, and they ended up conceding a lot of penalties in that area, undone by the boot of Ramil Gaisan. All of that stuff really got at them, and they were kind of exposed for being a little bit of a blunt instrument themselves. They were physical, but they weren't using their skills appropriately. And now, to be fair, to look at it,
12 months on,
they fought past that defeat, and they've come back with a mighty improvements all right across the board.
Some impressive performance, digging out that result against Portugal when they were blown away and were out of it towards the end. That was a huge momentum shift for them in the context of this race for second that they are very much at the forefront of at the minute, but that is where they want to be, is at the World Cup, and they were missing from it last time. They were kind of in the wilderness, but they are a nation with a great rugby tradition, and you were right in citing the appointment of Robinson has been great for them. This new stadium, the Arco de Triomphe, has been a really good home for them as well. That performance they put in against the Argentinians at the start of the summer last year was such a big watershed moment for them. They started to believe off the back of that they can really mix it
big time. And since then it's been non-stop brilliance. They've brought in a couple, like their centre partnership now of two South Sea Islanders, Jason Tamani and Hinckley Vayavasa, has just changed the dynamic.
As long as they're eligible players, that's
good for them. I mean, it has changed the dynamic of this team to no end. They play with speed, they play with aggression. Daniel Play is in at 10. There's no more of Laiku.
That's right. Laiku was a great servant, but it completely changed the tempo of their offense and the age profile of their backline. And then guys like Malinte out wide can really kind of unpick space as well.
Malinte, Onutu and Dumitru as a back three, very, very quick, very, very offensive minded. Like, they have a solid defense as well, but now that what they have married is a competitive pack that is physical, strong, organised at set piece, always gives the Georgians a rumble, with a backline that is quick, kind of star-studded, very offensive minded, and takes tries, and they look big and strong and quick whenever they take the field, and the marriage of those three combinations looks very, very powerful.
I think it's actually the latter of your attributes that is their biggest point of difference in this matchup against Russia, which is one that will be pinned to their notice board. That was a very, very disappointing performance this time 12 months ago against them.
I heard.
So it will be like fresh in their minds that we can't allow that to happen again. We need to make redemptive stuff going, and really it would sink the Russians kind of in terms of their campaign for second as well. But this would be a lot of demons to exercise, and it is, like, to your point, yes, they are big, they are powerful, but it is the pace that is the most difference, because it was two blunt instruments running into each other last year. That was the matchup, and Russia, as the more disciplined, patient side in that particular game, ended up edging it with some accurate goal kicking to be clinical in that regard. But now Russia are quite a slow, blunt force themselves at the worst times. Their backline is a little bit just lacking for pace. This Romania side looks primed to get after them, particularly at home on day one.
No, indeed. And to your point, there was an interview with Rugby Europe did with Marius Antonescu, who's one of the lock forwards that they have, and he was very much harking on that point of that game last year. He said they talked about it in camp. It was a big deal. They wanted to right that wrong, and they really are targeting this game. To my eye, they seem sort of remarkably professional, organised, disciplined and determined.
Hungry.
Like they want to right the wrong of 4 years ago not making the World Cup.
They don't want upstarts like Portugal getting them out of there as well.
I mean, that's going to be, you talk about your big games when Romania play Portugal in this competition, it's going to go off. But I mean, that, like, to my eye, they look really, really impressive. They look like old school Romania could maybe hang with a tier 1 team for a bit level go.
And did against Argentina last year. That's why they look that way.
It's just again, it's kind of a lack of weakness thing. Like, if tier 1 team thinks they're going to come in and bully them, they're not actually. They're not going to get those physical stuff. Their defense is improving, and now they can take tries, and now they can be competitive in the offensive area as well. Yeah. So the improvement of standard right across the board of Test rugby has been one of the joys to watch over the last even couple of years. Yeah. And Romania are right at the forefront of that, and I think they'll be determined to show the advancement that they've made even in the last year by completely flipping the script of facing what is a physical Russia team and a difficult Russia team, but by being quicker, as you say.
By being quicker, and therefore things like bonus points, which will be important at the end. They're level with Portugal now. I think it's in the mix here. If they can hit their straps early doors, kind of put the squeeze on, get a couple of scores up, and the Russian heads do have a tendency to drop, so you can kind of turn the screw from there and run in a few scores, which will help their cause too. Yeah, I think Romania will be looking to hit the ground running with a strong showing at home, which would double as sinking the Russian. Russian are one of the contenders challenging for it, although they are bottom of the heap now on 9 points in that race, apart from that race for second spot. So an opening day loss like that would probably sink their challenge, but it would also just be the buoyant kind of momentum that Romania need to carry into that campaign, and a flip side from what they got at the start, where they set off on the back foot last year with an ugly showing in the same fixture. But then the flip side from a Russian point of view is that it's do or die. For all the same reason, it's backs to the wall. They're only on 9 points, and they're a few points adrift. That's 5 points adrift of Romania and Portugal before they even play a game in this tournament. Yeah. So that's a lot of points to make up if you're going to get second or third place, and it involves winning in Romania, and it probably involves losing bonus points in Tbilisi, and it involves winning in it involves massive showings that, it's tough to know where they're coming from, because their last outing against Spain, you're right in saying, was an absolute shellacking, wasn't it? Like 48-14 or something to that. It was. So the Bears are coming in with very little momentum, but they are hungry too. They very much did themselves proud in that Japanese World Cup when they ended up going to it. They definitely can rise to the occasion. They are proud and they are very physical. That much is true. My doubts about them are related to speed. I think they are at a speed disadvantage pretty much every time they take the pitch, and it's an uphill battle to accrue scores when that's the case. So they're going to have to try and make this an arm wrestle that they can win, which they did last year. It's tough to know if they can manage it against this new look Romania side. Yeah, no question. And when you look at the way they ended last year with that really, really tough loss to Spain, it did look raggedy. And then you had Lynn Jones coming out and giving one of the strangest post-match interviews where he was like, and now I'm going home to Wales. And he said that to the Russian reporter after his defeat, before he'd even announced his retirement. It felt like the end of that whole saga, and it was a sad end. They were completely lost by the end. True. And but now they've got a refreshing introduction, one that is desperately needed at this time, and they're hoping to get a bit of a Razzie Erasmus juju where things turn around instantly, because they have this guy Dick Muir who's come in as head coach, and he's got some serious credentials in South Africa. He was in charge of the Sharks when they actually made the Super Rugby final back in 2007. I think of that Brian Abana heartbreak try. Yeah. Dick Muir was their coach then. He was assistant coach for that brilliant Bok team in 2009. Yeah. So he has some real credentials in coaching. He had gone off and done some more administrative work, and then he was in charge of the Sharks Academy. But now he's taken this opportunity to come back in and coach this Romanian team. This Russia team. That is that's big for them. I think that's a accredited guy with a decent track record of being a head coach. And he's a Safa, which is kind of in their mold. They're physical first, and they kind of want to, before you get a Kiwi in, you kind of get a Safa head in and try and tighten up. But also I still believe that they do need speed, just new speed in the backline in general. But that's something that a new coach may find. A new coach usually might be impressed. He'll come in with a fresh eyes to camp and maybe find that too, as well as just the confidence that, as you were right to cite, like that post-match interview was pretty the pits, and it's probably a low enough ebb in the dressing room that any new voice and any new encouragement can just refresh a team. I've heard him talking as well, and what he said is, well, he repeatedly cited Portugal as a team that he's really impressed with in terms of watching the Rugby Europe, and he's saying he's loved their improvement. He also said that his focus has always been on ball skills and developing skill sets of players. Good. That seems to be a point of focus for him, as well as having obviously those Safa credentials where you'd rely on the ability of forward understand the importance of things like set piece and things like forwards. Yeah, he wants to get them playing rugby, and I think he's going to emphasise with them that. Listen, this is what's going on in this tournament. You're going to get left behind. It's go hard or go home when it comes to the offensive stuff, and they're going to need to get that as good as the defense can be. They don't want to lose that, but you have to develop a better attack. It's true. And that's going to be a huge point for him. And unfortunately, on the other side of things,
He's had a really disrupted arrival into Russia. He was delayed for COVID reasons from coming in. I think there were quarantine issues as well. Then the squad had a COVID outbreak and had to disassemble. So I think he's had about a week or two of training with them, which is not ideal.
No,
yeah,
it's
totally.
not ideal.
It's just
one of the things, as well as new
pitch.
coaching kind of momentum and stuff, is in the Rugby Europe Super Cup, which we were mentioning, that new tournament, they do have two franchises in it that are performing pretty well, the two Russian franchises, so there's a bit of cohesion at least there to stem from, even if their pre-season's
There are, by the
disrupted.
way, 8 professional teams in Russia.
There you go.
Like it has a pro rugby base, so you would think that from that mine there's a bit more talent to look at than what we've been looking at the last couple of years. No disrespect to the guys they've had, but obviously from a pace point of view, from a skills point of view, they're going to need to find the right guys. But yes, NSA STM are right up there, ready to make the knockouts of that competition. I think they had a good win over Black Lion, Georgia
thing, so that's
really
encouraging going into any Rugby Europe campaign. If you can get any kind of wins against any kind of Georgians, that's usually good in the context of this tournament.
But at an administrative level, they've also been really trying to work the screws of this new eligibility rule.
Yes, indeed.
Like nobody else. The Russians are on it.
They're always on it for those kinds of...
There was a lot of talent out of Moldovan rugby, especially forward talent. Like there's a bit of a rugby tradition in Moldova, quietly, but I think at an administrative level, they're kind of a basket case.
Sure.
And so Russia are going, this guy, give me them. They already have 3 who've got permission. Victor Arkip, Mason I'm going to butcher these names, Gargalek and Anton Makarenko. So I mean, they're working really hard on bolstering their squad through that avenue as well, as they always do. Every little angle the Russians will work on pretty well, which is definitely going to be a positive for them. But obviously coming off that defeat to Spain, it was 49-12. Huge
momentum sapping, kind of confidence draining.
Yeah, I was going to go room for improvement, but
absolute kick in the nuts to end the campaign last year, and it sets them off way behind where they need to be, and that's why they're 5 points adrift of the other teams that are in competition with them.
The offense is going to be important. The speed improvements that we know they need to make, that's going to be important. But I think priority 1 is kind of stopping this Russian team. It starts with stopping Vyavasa, who's just cutting teams apart. Like you need to have a defensive mind to just get after them.
You've got to arrive to the pitch out in Bucharest and kind of be combative and be physical as you know you can be.
Every game's a final in Russia's position.
Exactly.
And their backs to the walls if they want to make a World Cup, which we know they assuredly do. Every game's a final. They got to get out and get after this guy. Stop the Romanians at source. Turn it into one of those kind of offensive secondary kind of games, because they're getting after them defensively. Slow the Romanians down, win the forward battle, win your turn.
Decisive maul try, good times.
Exactly right. It's going to be on them to be physical and to be strong and to get after these this Romanian pack and attack and to get them to turn back into the team they were last year. I mean, you saw the model last year. I think it'll just take a little more effort-wise
both because it's away from home and because Romania are resurgent and the ones carrying momentum. With all that being said, how do you see it going?
You know what? Yeah, I agree. I agree with what you were saying there. I think it's Romania. I've just been very impressed. They look a well organised level above what this competition has been, and Romania don't. And they might yet come good under Dick Muir. But
Russia, you mean? Yeah, Russia don't.
Sorry, I keep
flipping the R's,
flipping them in my head. But yeah, no, Russia under Dick Muir. They might come good, but given the disruptions they've had, it's just tough to see it coming together in the way they will have to stymie Romania.
I think as predictions go for Russia, I think no, they will not make the World Cup. Unfortunately, I think they're too far adrift. But it's not beyond them to prevent someone else from going to the World Cup. A nasty win here or there could be in their wheelhouse, but I don't think it's going to happen this week. I think Romania too strong. I think they will get off to a winning start and tee up the tournament that way.
Yeah, I think I agree. How do you think this one's going to go? Where are you going to be watching it from? Who are you backing in Rugby Europe? Let us know in the comments down below. And this is going to be a fun game to take a look at. Thank you very much for watching the Overlap Rugby podcast. If you enjoyed that video, be sure to give it a like, share with your friends, and leave a comment down below as well. We really do want to hear your thoughts.